What if the nickels in your pocket were worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? Sounds crazy, right? But rare Jefferson nickels, like the 1947, 1948, 1987 AP, 1990, and 1964 error, have sold for unbelievable prices at auctions. You might be holding a hidden treasure without even knowing it. So grab your coins, hit that like button, subscribe for more rare coin stories, and let's uncover if your nickel could be worth a fortune. Have you ever wondered if that old nickel sitting in your pocket change could actually be worth a small fortune? Well, sometimes the most ordinary looking coins turn out to be hidden treasures, and today's story is one of those surprises. We're talking about the 1964 Jefferson 5-cent nickel coin, a coin that looks simple, feels common, but in some very rare cases, hides minting mistakes that make it worth up to $145,000. Yes, you heard that right, a 5-cent coin that could change your life. Before we dive into this fascinating story, tell me, where are you watching from? I love hearing from coin enthusiasts all over the world. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And while you're at it, tell us, have you ever come across a 1964 Jefferson nickel? If you have, you might want to take another look at it after you hear what makes this coin so special. Now, let's travel back to 1964. It was a year of massive coin production in the United States. The nation was experiencing a coin shortage, and the USA Mint had to strike an enormous number of nickels to keep up with demand. The Denver and Philadelphia mints worked around the clock, producing over 2.8 billion nickels combined. That's more than any other year in history for this denomination. Because of that intense production rush, many coins left the mint with small errors and imperfections, and those are exactly what collectors look for today. The 1964 Jefferson nickel features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag. On the obverse side, you see Jefferson facing left, with the words "I in God we trust" and "Liberty" inscribed, along with the date 1964. The reverse side shows Jefferson's famous Virginia home, Monticello, framed by the inscriptions "E pluribus unum, Monticello, United States of America," and 5 cents. It's a design that has appeared for decades, but in 1964, something unexpected happened. The rush to produce billions of coins led to some fascinating minting errors. One of the most famous 1964 nickel errors is the double die error. This occurs when the coin die is impressed twice at slightly different angles. The result is doubling on some parts of the coin, most noticeably on the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even on the building details of Monticello. The doubling can range from faint to dramatic, but the stronger the doubling, the higher the value. Some double die examples have sold for thousands of dollars depending on condition. Another rare variety is the repunched mint mark, known as RPM. Back in 1964, mint marks were punched into the dies manually, which left room for human error. If the worker punched the mint mark slightly off the first time and tried again, it created a shadowed or doubled mint mark, something you can see clearly under magnification. Some of these RPM examples from the 1964 AD nickel are extremely valuable, but there is one error that has become almost legendary among collectors: the 1964 Special Strike nickel, sometimes confused with a proof coin. These coins were not meant for general circulation but appear to have been made using specially prepared dies and polished planchets. They have an almost proof-like finish but lack the usual mirror-deep surfaces of official proof coins. Experts believe they were struck under unique experimental conditions at the Philadelphia Mint. Only a handful have ever been confirmed to exist, and when one of these rare 1964 Special Strike nickels surfaced at auction, it sold for more than $40,000. There are also off-center strikes, where the blank coin wasn't perfectly centered during striking, causing part of the design to be missing and leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the full date, the more collectible it is. Some of these errors have fetched several $1,000s because they show such obvious flaws yet remain perfectly preserved. Another interesting 1964 nickel error is known as a die crack or cut error. This happens when the coin die itself becomes damaged or starts to break apart from repeated use. Since the mint was under so much pressure to produce coins quickly that year, some worn dies continued being used well past their prime. When the die cracked, molten metal would fill the damaged area during striking, creating raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. These unique patterns make each coin one of a kind, and collectors pay handsomely for them, especially when they appear near Jefferson's face or the steps of Monticello. Now, it is something that really surprises many people. The mint actually stopped producing nickels with mint marks after 1964 for several years due to the coin shortage crisis. That's one reason why 1964 nickels have such a strong place in coin collecting history. It marked the end of an era, and these coins became the last to bear mint marks before the design change that followed in 1965. But what makes the 1964 nickel so exciting today is that, despite billions being made, only a few of these rare errors survived in top condition. Most were spent, worn down, or lost to time. That's why when one in nearly perfect mint state is discovered with a dramatic error, collectors and auction houses go wild. Condition, as always, is everything. A circulated nickel with an error might bring in a few $100s, but a mint state coin with full details and a sharp strike can easily reach into the tens of thousands. The most desirable examples are those graded MS-65 or higher with clear error features, dabbling, repunched mint marks, or special striking qualities. Imagine finding one of these in your own coin collection or even in a box of old change from your grandparents. That's why coin hunting has become such a popular hobby. It's like modern-day treasure hunting, and anyone can join in. You don't need special tools, just patience, a magnifying glass, and curiosity. So, let's make this a little interactive. Where are you watching from right now? Do you collect nickels or other US coins? And do you think you might have a 1964 nickel lying around somewhere? Drop your answers in the comments. It's always exciting to see how many hidden treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered. The 1964 Jefferson nickel also stands out because of the way it bridges old and new minting technology. It was the last year of the pre- and 1965 alloy composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel, and marks the end of the classic Jefferson design era before later modifications. That means every 1964 nickel, error or not, has a place in history, but of course, it's the error coins that get all the attention. Collectors have documented dozens of varieties, and new ones are still being discovered today. The thrill of finding a new die crack pattern, a doubled inscription, or an off-center strike keeps coin hunters motivated to search through rolls of nickels. You never know what you find until you look. To give you an idea of the market, one exceptional 1964 AD Jefferson nickel featuring a strong repunched mint mark and pristine surfaces sold for over $15,000. Another coin with an extremely clear double die obverse brought more than $40,000. And one of the rarest 1964 special strike nickels, the kind with the satin-like finish, fetched nearly $75,000 at auction. But the record-breaking examples, those rare combinations of perfection and error that collectors dream of, have reached truly astonishing prices. The highest graded and most unusual 1964 error Jefferson nickels have sold for as much as $145,000, that's right, $145,000 for a 5-cent coin. It's incredible to think that something so small and ordinary could hold so much value. But that's the magic of coins, each one carries a piece of history, and sometimes, a touch of mystery that makes it priceless. So, before you spend your next nickel, take a closer look. Examine Jefferson's portrait, the lettering, and the mint mark. Check for doubling, cracks, or misaligned features. You never know, your everyday change might be hiding a coin that could make your day, or even your year. And don't forget to share in the comments, where are you watching from, and have you checked your 1964 nickels yet? Because that one small coin could be your next big discovery. At the end of the day, the 1964 Jefferson 5-cent nickel isn't just a piece of metal. It's a symbol of an era when America's mint was working overtime to meet demand, a time when small mistakes became legendary treasures. And for collectors, those mistakes are exactly what make these coins so fascinating, and so valuable. Now it is the reveal you've been waiting for. Among all the rare 1964 error Jefferson nickels ever found, the most extraordinary examples, preserved in near-perfect condition with dramatic minting errors, have been valued at an incredible $145,000. Yes, a 5-cent coin worth $145,000. So check your pockets, dig through your old jars, and take a closer look at those nickels. Because your next rare find might just be sitting right in your hands. Have you ever picked up what seems like a totally ordinary nickel and felt a moment of curiosity, just a flicker, where you stop, look, and question whether it might be something far more than just 5 cents? If you have, you're already thinking the way serious coin collectors do. Today we're diving into one of those coins, the 1947 Jefferson nickel. It may look like any other nickel you see in circulation, but under the right conditions it holds stories worth exploring, and maybe even value worth seeking. Before we begin, tell me, where are you watching from right now? Drop your location in the comments. And while you're at it, have you ever found a nickel from the year 1947 pulgadas your change or tucked away in a coin roll? Because if you have, you might want to take a closer look. Let's travel back to 1947. The world was still in recovery from World War II. In the United States, everyday life was shifting, industry was converting, families were rebuilding, and coins changed hands by the millions. The nickel in question, the Jefferson nickel, had been introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The obverse depicts President Thomas Jefferson facing left, the reverse features his home Monticello, and the coin had long been part of the everyday pocket and register. The composition in 1947, 75% copper and 25% nickel. No silver, no unusual alloy. Mintage numbers show approximately 95 million pieces for the Philadelphia no mint mark variety, 37,822,000 for Denver, D, and 24,720,000 for San Francisco, S. On the face of it, those are large numbers, plenty of coins to go around. So how could this coin possibly become a treasure worth far more than its face value? The answer lies in condition, rarity, specific mint marks or mint errors, and the collector market. Most 1947 Jefferson nickels are common and worth only a few cents or dollars in circulated condition. But some examples: high grade, full detail, full steps on the Monticello reverse, maybe exceptional luster, these are the ones that catch serious attention. Collectors of Jefferson nickels pay special attention to details like the steps and their Monticello. The more fully defined those steps are, the better the strike. Better strikes usually mean fewer had heavier or weak dies. Then there is the mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. Examples tend to be scarcer in high grades compared to Philadelphia. And of course condition, uncirculated, bright surfaces, minimal wear, moves a coin toward gem status. Let's walk through what to look for. On the obverse, the portrait of Jefferson should appear sharp, details in his hair, the collar, and the date should be clean. Inspect the lettering, in God we trust, Liberty. If these are crisp, no heavy wear or flattening, jewelry already a head dot on the reverse, the Monticello structure needs to show clear detail. The steps under Monticello are your clue. When you can see 5 or so well-defined steps, on the best examples, that coin is strikingly better than most. Mint mark, if there is a de or S under the date, you know which mint struck the coin. Some mint mark varieties are harder to find in top grades, surface and luster. For uncirculated pieces, the original mint luster matters. If the coin still has brilliant surfaces, brick/diagonal original color, minimal contact marks, it has strong potential. Now let's turn to the auction results. Concrete evidence of how serious collectors value the top examples of 1947 Jefferson nickels, a 1947 AS, San Francisco, in MS 67, mint state 67, condition achieved an auction price of $14,950. PCGS, 1947, no mint mark, example, certified PCGS genuine, listed as auction record $10,000. PCGS, 1947 MS67 full steps example, likely highly graded, sold in June 2014 for $4,112.50. Heritage auctions. These are not your everyday coins. These are exceptional specimens, very high grade, well struck, perhaps with the best possible full steps detail or superior surfaces. In summary, if you find a 1947 Jefferson nickel that is uncirculated, or near uncirculated, especially with full steps under Monticello, and especially from Denver or San Francisco mint, if you can confirm, you might be holding something far more valuable than face value suggests. So now I want to ask you again, do you have a 1947 Jefferson nickel? Where are you watching from? And if you've ever held one, take a minute to examine it closely with good light and perhaps a magnifier. The chance might be there, because in the world of coin collecting, the difference between a few dollars and thousands or tens of thousands often comes down to details that most people never notice. That unassuming nickel might just carry a piece of history, and a piece of value. Let's travel back to 1948. The world was rebuilding after World War II, families were growing, and everyday life in the United States had a steadier rhythm. In coinage terms, the Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, was now well established. The obverse shows Thomas Jefferson's portrait, the reverse shows Monticello. The 1948 nickels were struck in standard composition, 75% copper, 25% nickel, and were made at Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D., and San Francisco, S. Mintage numbers were large, tens of millions, so in ordinary grades these coins are common. PCGS, con because so many were made, most 1,948 nickels you'll find in circulation are worth only pocket change. But collectors look for details that transform a common coin into a collectible: superior strike, original luster, full steps on Monticello, unusual toning, or rare varieties /diagonal errors. The phrase full steps is especially important for Jefferson nickels. If you can clearly see all the steps under Monticello, that's a sign of strong strike quality and can add substantial premium in higher grades. So what should you inspect when you pick up a 1948 nickel? First, check the mint mark. Is there a D or S under the date, or no mark, Philadelphia? Next, examine Monticello's steps on the reverse. Good full steps detail is a major plus. Look for sharpness in Jefferson's hair and color on the obverse and crisp lettering. Finally, note the surface. Original mint luster or attractive toning is worth more than a scratched, dull coin. If you spot anything odd, dabbling, off-center strike, repunched mint mark, raised dab breaks, that's when you call in an expert or send the coin for grading. Now let's talk market reality. Because the 1948 series was produced in large numbers, the market is driven by grade. In circulated grades most examples sell for cents to a few dollars. But uncirculated pieces, especially those with full steps and strong surfaces, are collectible and trade at higher prices among specialists. Realized auction prices vary widely depending on grade and provenance. Below eBay listed notable auction results and representative realized sales so you, and your viewers, get a realistic picture of what top examples have brought. Notable auction realized prices, representative examples. Great Collections has sold many 1948 as Jefferson nickels over the years, with realized prices in recent years ranging from single digits up to several $100s depending on grade. Their archive shows sales from roughly $6 to $422 for various 1948 as examples. Great Collections, Comstexpowers realized a sale for a 1948 as Jefferson nickel graded MS67 FS at about $900, spring 2019 sale. That lot was highlighted for strong satin surfaces and was one of the finest certified survivors. Heritage/diagonal Other auction houses have shown occasional MS66/diagonal MS67 examples crossing over into the thousands in the past decade. Heritage recorded an MS67 plus FS sale for a 1948 AS example at about $2,640 in 2018, representative of high-grade interest rather than the everyday market. PCGS auction database shows multiple realized results for 1948 series coins. Example MS67 recorded sale prices have been under $1,000 in several auction runs. PCGS auction pages list multiple sales and population information. Use PCGS/NGC/HA archives to compare exact lots and grades for precise realized values. A few important takeaways from those numbers. 1. The vast majority of 1948 nickels are inexpensive. 2. The premium is pushed into the upper uncirculated grades and especially onto the scarce MS67 full step survivors. 3. Realized prices change with market demand and specifics of the individual coin, appeal, certification, provenance. If you're preparing content for viewers, show example photos and stress that grade plus full steps plus surface equals premium. If you think you've found a gem, what should you do next? Don't clean it. Never clean an old coin. Cleaning destroys collector value. Photograph it under good light, note the date and mint mark, and if it looks uncirculated or has a full steps designation, consider sending it to a reputable grading service, PCGS or NGC, for authentication and grading. A properly certified coin typically brings higher prices and gets more trust at auction. And if you want to quickly check comparable sales, use the PCGS, NGC, Heritage, Comstexpowers, and Great Collections auction archives to search by year, mint mark, and grade. Now a short collector's tip. For Jefferson nickels the full steps check is easy. Turn the coin under bright light and look closely at Monticello's bottom. If you can clearly see all the horizontal steps, not worn or weak, that coin is likely a stronger strike and could earn a full steps designation from PCGS/diagonal NGC. It's a simple trick you can teach viewers that helps separate ordinary from desirable specimens. PCGS.com. Finally, a realistic valuation summary to close the video. For most viewers, a circulated 1948 Jefferson nickel is worth face value to a few dollars. Collectors will pay more for solid uncirculated grades. modest MS-65 examples sell for low hundreds in the market, while ultra-fine registry coins in MS-66 to MS-67. MS-67 with full steps have realized prices in the low thousands and, in rare cases, a bit higher depending on appeal. Representative realized auction prices I referenced include low hundreds to low thousands for high-grade 1948 AS/1948 AD examples and occasional MS-67. MS-67 sales around $900, is tax powers, to $2,640, heritage example, but remember, each lot is unique and sale prices move over time. Always verify with the sale lot and grade before assuming a number. So now it's your turn, check that jar of nickels, check old rolls, and if you pull out a 1948 piece, examine the mint mark and Monticello steps. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, what you found, and whether we should take a closer look together in a live video. There is something magical about realizing a small coin hides a big story, and sometimes, a little value too. The 1990 Jefferson nickel may not seem particularly special at first glance, but every coin has its story, and this one carries more significance than you might think. The Jefferson nickel design, first introduced in 1938, continued into 1990 with only minor modifications over the years. On the obverse, it features the iconic left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag. The reverse shows Jefferson's home, Monticello, with the familiar inscriptions E pluribus unum, Monticello, 5 cents, United States of America, and the mint mark positioned to the right of Monticello. Now, the year 1990 was a busy one for US coin production. Millions of Jefferson nickels were minted across 3 facilities, Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The San Francisco mint coins, as usual, were proof strikes made especially for collectors, featuring a mirror-like surface and frosted design. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced circulation coins, the ones that found their way into everyday transactions, piggy banks, and old coin jars like the ones many of us have tucked away somewhere at home. Even though billions of nickels were struck during that period, collectors today look for specific traits that make a 1990 nickel valuable. High-grade examples with clean surfaces, strong luster, and sharp detail are especially sought after. And of course, if you happen to find an error coin, the value can jump dramatically. There are known examples of 1990 nickels with die cracks, off-center strikes, double die errors, and even clash die marks, all of which can make your coin stand out. So if you're going through your coins at home, take a close look at the 1990 Jefferson nickels. Hold them under good light and inspect Jefferson's cheek and jawline. Are they crisp and detailed, or worn and faded? Check Monticello steps on the reverse side. If you can see all 5 steps clearly, you might have what collectors call a full steps nickel. That detail indicates a strong strike and usually adds a significant premium to the value of the coin. Now, you might be wondering, how valuable can a 1990 nickel really be? Well, for ordinary circulated examples, the ones that have seen everyday use, the value typically remains at or just slightly above face value. But in uncirculated condition, the story changes. High-grade coins, especially those with full steps, can command impressive prices at auction. For instance, a 1990 AD Jefferson nickel graded MS-67 with full steps by PCGS once sold for over $1,500 at auction. Another example in pristine MS-68 condition has fetched more than $2,000, simply because it's nearly flawless and incredibly rare at that level of perfection. Even more modest uncirculated grades like MS-65 or MS-66 can bring in $20 to $100 depending on market demand and visual appeal. For proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, collectors especially prize the deep cameo examples, those with strong contrast between the mirrored fields and frosted design elements. A 1990 AS-proof Jefferson nickel graded PR70 deep cameo has been known to sell for around $200 to $400. It's all about condition and visual appeal. That's what collectors chase when it comes to modern era nickels. So it is the real question for you, do you have any 1990 nickels lying around? Go grab a magnifying glass and look carefully. Even small differences, like the sharpness of Jefferson's hair or the depth of the Monticello steps, can make a big difference in value. And if you find something that looks odd, a strike that seems slightly off-center, a missing letter, or doubling on the inscriptions, you might have stumbled upon a rare mint error coin. If you do, don't clean it or try to improve its appearance. Leave it as is, because cleaning coins almost always reduces their value. Collectors today often send coins like these to professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC to confirm their condition. A graded coin in a secure holder not only protects it from damage but also verifies its authenticity and grade, which can greatly increase its resale value. You'd be surprised how many people have turned a few cents into a few $100s just by getting the right coin certified. It's also fascinating to think about the historical context. By 1990, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for more than 50 years, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in US history. While there were slight refinements to the portrait and lettering over the decades, the essence of Felix Schach's original vision remained intact. That continuity makes even the later-date nickels like the 1990 issue a meaningful part of the larger Jefferson nickel story. When it comes to errors, some 1990 Jefferson nickels are known to feature die cracks that create raised lines across the surface, giving them a unique and collectible look. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, are also interesting finds that can sell anywhere from $20 to several $100s depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. Doubled obverse errors, where parts of the inscriptions or details appear doubled, are among the most sought after by error collectors. So keep your eyes open, a small detail could make a huge difference. As we come to the end of this story, remember that most 1990 Jefferson nickels are worth only a few cents. But for those rare, high-grade examples or unique mint errors, the value can rise dramatically. Whether it's a perfectly struck full steps example or a rare error coin, these small details transform an ordinary coin into something special, something that carries history, artistry, and a hint of mystery in your hands. So, now it's your turn. Go check your change, your old jars, or that box of coins you inherited from a grandparent. Look closely at any 1990 nickels you find and see if you've got something extraordinary. And tell me in the comments below, where are you watching from, and do you have a 1990 nickel in your collection? Because who knows, that small coin in your pocket might just be worth more than you ever imagined. And to wrap it all up, it is the current market reality. The regular 1990 Jefferson nickel in circulated condition is generally worth its face value, 5 cents. In uncirculated grades without full steps, it can bring anywhere from $1 to $10. But for those stunning full steps examples in top grades, auction prices have reached over $1,500, and exceptional specimens have even touched the $2,000 mark. Proof coins from San Francisco in flawless PR70 deep cameo condition hover around $300. So, the next time you come across a 1990 nickel, take a closer look. It might be a small piece of treasure hiding right in plain sight. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American life since 1938, when it replaced the Buffalo nickel. Designed by sculptor Felix Schach, this coin's obverse shows the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers and the third President of the United States. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate. Both sides of the coin have become iconic pieces of American coinage, recognized instantly by collectors around the world. Even decades later, the design still carries the same character and charm. Now, the 1987 AP nickel was minted in Philadelphia. That's what the P mint mark stands for, and you'll find it on the right side of Monticello on the reverse. The mintage that year was quite high, over 546 million coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone. With numbers like that, you might think this coin is common, and for the most part, you'd be right. But as every collector knows, not all coins are created equal. Even among hundreds of millions, there are always a few standouts, coins that were struck perfectly, preserved beautifully, or produced with unique errors that make them incredibly valuable. The composition of the 1987 AP nickel remains the same as other modern Jefferson nickels, 75% copper and 25% nickel. No silver, no special alloy, but what makes this coin special is condition, strike quality, and any unusual minting varieties. Coins with sharp details and fully defined steps on Monticello, known as full steps or FS designations, are particularly valuable. That's because it's rare for coins struck for circulation to have perfect, crisp detail in that area. Most have a slightly mushy or worn appearance from the moment they leave the press. So if you find a 1987 AP nickel with clear, full steps visible under Monticello, you might just have something truly special. When looking at your 1987 AP nickel, examine the obverse first. Focus on Jefferson's cheek, how lean and hair, are they well defined, or do they look flat and dull? A strong strike will show fine hair details and a clean, bold date. Flip it over to the reverse and study Monticello. If you can count 5 or even 6 full steps beneath the building without breaks, that's a sign of an excellent strike. These full steps nickels are the ones collectors chase after and grading companies reward with higher grades and designations. Speaking of grading, most 1987 AP nickels found in circulation are heavily worn and only worth face value, 5 cents. But when you move up to mint state grades, that's where the excitement begins. In MS65 condition, these coins can bring around $10 to $20. In MS66, you're looking at closer to $50 to $80. And for the rarest, top quality examples, those in MS67 or with full steps, auction prices have soared much higher. For instance, a 1987 AP Jefferson nickel graded MS67 full steps by PCGS has sold for around $1,250. Another MS67 example fetched more than $1,000 at heritage auctions, showing that even modern coins can reach impressive prices when they are nearly perfect. Collectors also love finding mint errors, and the 1987 AP nickel is no exception. There have been reports of off-center strikes, die cracks, and even clash die examples, where parts of the design from one side of the coin are faintly visible on the other. These kinds of errors are rare, but when they appear, they can easily fetch $100 or more depending on how dramatic the error looks. Some off-center strikes where the design is visibly shifted yet still shows the date can bring even higher prices, especially if the coin remains uncirculated. The San Francisco Mint also produced proof versions of the 1987 Jefferson nickel for collectors, though those carry the S Mint mark. Note that these proof coins have mirror-like surfaces and frosted designs, and in perfect PR70 deep cameo condition, they can sell for around $100 to $200. However, our focus here is the 1987 AP, the coin that was meant for everyday circulation, yet can become a rare find in the right condition. It's also fascinating to think about what life was like in 1987 when these coins were first minted. Gas cost less than $1 per gallon, the average home price in the USA was around $85,000, and people were using nickels just like this one every day without a second thought. Few could have imagined that decades later, collectors would be paying hundreds or even thousands of dollars for the best preserved examples. So once again, EAJ ask, what are you watching from, and do you have a 1987 Jefferson nickel? If you do, grab a magnifying glass and take a good look. The smallest details might be worth far more than you expect. Check the steps under Monticello, inspect the surfaces for shine and marks, and if it looks exceptional, consider getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Having a graded coin adds credibility, protects your investment, and might just surprise you with its market value. Now let's talk about some auction results that prove how valuable this coin can be when it's in top condition. A 1987 AP Jefferson nickel graded MS67 full steps by PCGS sold for approximately $1,250 in a heritage auction. A noted MS67 example without the full steps designation sold for about $1,000. Meanwhile, high-grade coins in MS66 regularly sell between $50 and $100 depending on luster and eye appeal. Proof-like or exceptionally struck examples can sometimes push even higher, particularly when they come from early die states with sharp detail and minimal imperfections. For collectors chasing perfection, these results are encouraging. It shows that even coins from relatively recent decades can be hidden gems worth real money. So if you've got a jar of old nickels at home, it's time to start checking those dates. You never know when a coin that's been sitting unnoticed for decades might turn out to be a treasure. In summary, while most 1987 AP Jefferson nickels are still only worth 5 cents, pristine examples with full steps or mint errors can sell for hundreds or even over $1,000. It all comes down to condition, strike quality, and preservation. So go through your change carefully, because that one coin you overlook might just be the one collectors have been searching for. And remember to comment below where you're watching from. Who knows, maybe the next big discovery will come from your state or your collection. The 1987 AP Jefferson nickel may seem like an ordinary piece of change, but under the right circumstances, it becomes something extraordinary, a coin that bridges everyday life and hidden value, connecting history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery in one small, shining circle of metal.